Next up in the Wild Way to Lucid Dreaming, we'll be moving on to his chapter that is titled The Midway Point. And so if you remember a few videos back in this particular series that we've been doing, where he was talking about his different levels of lucidity, of which he actually ends up having 5 total, but he labels them like 1 through 4. And then he had this special level, which he termed as level 0, which is where this whole midway point thing is. And what that space essentially is when you're going from hypnagogia into REM and having a wild, he noticed there was this midway point to where he'd be like in this, blacked out environment, kind of just nothing else around him except he could see his body lying in a bed on one side of him, and then off to the other side, he'd see this little bubble that had the hypnagogic image or, the dream in it. And then he could decide if he wanted to go back to his body that was lying in bed and full on wake up, or he could step into the bubble and have a full on wild. And in this chapter, he's talking about his first ever, like, really prolonged lucid dream, which I don't think he says exactly how long it was, but it certainly seems like it was at least multiple hours in length. And how as he was going through that process, he would be like in REM, wake up out of it, be back in hypnagogia, get back to this midway point, be able to see his body, see the bubble, and then he just kept choosing to go back into the bubble, and thus, prolonging REM and prolonging the lucid dream. So some of the things he points out in here is how you can really only get to this midway point via wilds. He does seem to kind of suggest in here that, to get here at all, you have to start out with the wild. However, personally, I would disagree with that, where I have had dreams that were like pushing 2+ hours. And I didn't initially start off in these dreams via wilds. They were dilds for me. But then after that, and I would wake up out of the lucid dream, when I would fall back asleep through hypnagogia and enter back into REM, at that point, all those re-entries were wild. So I do think you actually would have to kind of have a wild to be able to witness and access this midway point, because you have to be able to witness the transition, right? So if you're not conscious or lucidly aware from the very beginning stage of hypnagogia into REM, understandably, you're just going to miss it. He also again doubles down on his whole lying down on his left side, making a big difference. I still don't think that is necessarily truly a thing for the majority of people. He does get into this in more detail later on in the book, so we'll get to that again later on. Some other things he brings up in here is apparently he heard that touching the tongue to the roof of your mouth is supposed to help increase your lucidity. I don't see why that would actually work. He tests it out in this dream, and he doesn't have any noticeable positive effects from it. He does seem to find at one time when he thought he was pushing his tongue to the top of his mouth, and the dream got super vivid and really clear. When he woke up, he was actually like curling his thumb against his finger, something like this, and almost like a fist. So he theorizes that perhaps doing this type of handhold with your fist could actually increase your lucidity. Maybe that would work. I doubt it would actually truly make a consistent difference there. What else we got in here? Then he talks about how after this really long lucid dream experience, he was on like cloud 9 and had this natural high that was going for like multiple days afterwards. And yeah, I think that's mostly it. It's kind of a long chapter, but I'm not about to reread it and figure out exactly what he said. I'm just going off of some of my highlights that were already in here. So with that said, I guess we'll just leave it there. And yeah, until the next video, keep your lucid dreaming practice legit.